Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica James Stutzman. An important question I want us to consider today is, how will you keep America beautiful? Do you picture litter-free streets, improved recycling efforts, graffiti-free buildings, and tree-lined streets for your neighborhoods? So do we. Today's guest is the Sustainability Coordinator for Erie County, Brittany Preshak, and these topics are definitely on her mind as well. Bringing these beautification efforts to a local level, Brittany will share with us her effort to keep Erie County beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
So Brittany, you do a lot of things. I think your title had originally started as recycling coordinator, and we know that, we both care so much about the community. It's more than just recycling sometimes.
Absolutely.
So your position has already grown and expanded, and you're the sustainability coordinator. And so what is Keep Erie County Beautiful?
Sure. So Keep Erie County Beautiful, it's actually going to be a local affiliate. There's a national organization and a state organization. So the national group's called Keep America Beautiful, and our state organization's called Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. So what we've decided to do is form a local effort. This is kind of our boots on the ground locally here, but lets us take advantage of the resources and programs that our state and national group offer.
Why did you decide to form the local organization? Why did you decide to bring it to Erie, and what benefits do you see bringing it here?
Sure, there's so many different benefits. What's great is the local affiliate, it allows us to kind of coordinate efforts we're already doing in Erie County on these different efforts: recycling and waste, beautification, litter and illegal dump cleanups. These are things that we already do, but to help to kind of coordinate the efforts, it's nice to have one central organization. But on top of that, affiliates at the local level, we actually get access to additional grant funding that comes from both the national organization and our state organization. So it lets us kind of tap into that money that we wouldn't otherwise be eligible for. In addition, we've got all these great resources, groups that are out there doing some of the same work we are, and we now get to benefit from their expertise and all the resources they have to offer.
I have looked into Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful before, and you're right, they have some wonderful grants out there, whether they are providing public parks with new recycling bins, or helping to paint a building that might have some paint chipping off of it. So these are a lot of the grants that if you were just maybe a nonprofit or a government organization off the street, you wouldn't actually be eligible to apply for these.
That's true. There are a couple grants that both the national and state organization offer to anyone, but then some of the little bit more larger grants, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 for community improvement, those are only open to affiliates.
Mm-hmm. And so this is significant grant funding that Erie County is going to be getting and able to share among the municipalities.
Absolutely. So it'll actually be money we can bring in and give to not only our municipalities, but our nonprofit groups, anyone working on all of these same efforts.
Mm-hmm. So you've spearheaded this effort, but I know that a lot of municipalities will be involved as well, nonprofits, for-profit groups. So tell me, who will run the organization?
Sure. So what we've decided is the easiest way to kind of run this organization is to house it in the Erie County Department of Planning. It's already where the Erie County Recycling Program is run out of. That's the program that I help to manage. And so what we've decided is there isn't a lot of extra work to manage this affiliate, so it's just easier to keep it in-house. It'll help to cut the costs of actually running a new organization. So it'll just be housed in Erie County Department of Planning.
And what's required to be an affiliate? Because there was a lot of work and planning that has gone into this already, and Millcreek Township and a lot of the other townships have been involved, but what is required to be an affiliate? What have you done so far?
So actually this has been a year-long effort. We started in January of 2016, kind of talking about this with different groups. So there's sort of two major steps. The first was we submitted an application, and there was an application fee, and then we actually held a community training, a way to bring all the different organizations together to kind of sit down and talk about this and find out what we can benefit from forming the organization, all the work that would have to go into. So that was kind of step one. The second piece was what we've done over the last 6 months. From May through November of 2016, we've been working with all of the groups you've mentioned, our municipalities, our nonprofits, our for-profits, our universities, our school districts, everybody. We've done three things. And so the first was we actually had to come up with an organizational structure. We can't just kind of pull this together and sort of let it loosely go. We came up with bylaws. We've talked about where it was going to be housed. We've talked about how it's going to be funded, what organizations can be a part of this group, and how do we kind of manage that. So that was one piece. We also had to kind of pull together all the different resources. There's a lot of people out there that we will probably need to get in touch with. Our state representatives, our local organizations. We decided kind of pulled all that information, all those contacts together into a nice list so that we know who to reach out to. And then the last thing was actually probably the biggest piece. We did this thing called a community appearance survey. So that was the last thing. Going through all of those, we've pulled that together. That's sort of our report, and we've submitted that on November 16th. We submitted that to Keep America Beautiful. They'll review it, and if they agree with everything we've done, then they'll actually give us approval.
And the community appearance survey I was actually a part of, and it was actually a wonderful day. We did spend the day, driving around. You put together this wonderful packet for us to follow. But tell our viewers, what did that community appearance survey involve? What was involved with it, and what results did you see from that survey?
Sure. So what we actually did is, you can see on the map behind us, we took Erie County and we broke it into watersheds. And for those who don't know what a watershed is, essentially it's an area of land that we know that the water in that area will flow to certain places. Some of our water flows into Lake Erie, and some of it actually flows down south towards Pittsburgh into the Ohio River. And so we basically separated Erie County into 5 areas, 5 distinct watershed areas. So you'll see in blue is the Lake Erie watershed. That of course will flow into Lake Erie. Elk Creek is actually large enough. It also flows into Lake Erie, but it became its own separate watershed. And then the Conneaut Creek Ashtabula Rivershed, that's kind of toward the western part of Erie County. That flows down into Ohio first, but eventually will end up in Lake Erie. So each of those were 3 separate. And then our French Creek watershed areas, those flow south. So we broke those up into 2 kind of main areas. Our main branch and the western branch of Lake Erie, or French Creek, I'm sorry, that's right here in the center. And this very last part here, this is the south branch of French Creek. So we took those 5 areas, and what we had to do was we came up with different sites throughout the county. These are all sites that have to be on roadways, so we had to be able to drive past them. They covered residential areas, commercial areas, industrial areas, undeveloped areas, kind of a nice range of what's sort of going on in those specific spaces. We identified 58 sites throughout the county, throughout all of these different watersheds. And then we did what we call a windshield survey. So that's what you helped to do. Basically, we got into a vehicle, a couple surveyors, and we drove past every single one of those sites. What the surveyors ended up doing is they actually had to give a score, a litter score. There's 4 different types of scores. There's a 1, no litter, great. The other end is a 4, that's extremely littered. And then we've got a 2 and a 3 kind of in the middle, to a little bit littered to a little bit more before you get to that 4 extremely littered site. What we had is every single site got a rating from all of our different scores. We kind of averaged things up and looked at it. What was nice is there's actually not a lot of litter throughout Erie County, we noticed. So our scores were very low. We did have a couple places that were high. You'd expect City of Erie, a very urbanized area, so that one had some high scores. And some of our boroughs as well, a little bit more dense urbanized residential areas, those had some litter as well. None reached an extremely littered score, so that's good to know. On average, we were about a 1.25 throughout the county is what we found out.
That's not bad at all.
No, it was great news to hear. We did find out, Eric kind of discussed this afterward though, one of the things is it's a windshield survey. So you're driving past, yes, it's slow speeds, but you're not going to catch everything. And so if we had walked some of the sites, or if we had gone beyond the roadway into some of the sites, we might have seen more things. So that's some of the things we'll be looking at in the coming year after we're approved.
Right, and I was a driver for one of these sites, so as the driver, I will have to say probably the hardest part, and maybe just because I like to talk, was that it was very unbiased in that every person, there's 4 of us in a vehicle, and every person was to be silent during these start and stop times, and it was very hard not to say, look at that piece of litter, or look what happened over here, look at that graffiti. So that was very hard to keep that to yourself, because that was something that each person had to almost pull out and notice by themselves.
Exactly.
But that way it wasn't biased in that everybody is looking at one piece of litter. You know, it might grab one person's attention and not another person's. So it was a very unbiased survey. But like you said, it was from the windshield. So, maybe if we have some dense bush cover or grass or trees, if anything was past that, we really couldn't see it from the car.
Exactly, and that's usually where our illegal dump sites end up hiding. So an illegal dump site is basically an area where people have just started to throw their trash. For whatever reason, this could be small bits of litter, this could be bags of trash, this could be televisions, I mean, so many things. But the point of an illegal dump is that you can't see it from the road. We don't want the people who use it don't want others to notice it, that way they can continue to dump there. So we missed a lot of our illegal dumps. However, we do actually have a survey from 2005 that actually is about 83 different illegal dump sites throughout the county. So we'll be working on updating that survey in the next couple of months throughout 2017 in the hopes of kind of finding out which ones still exist, which ones are even worse, and maybe start doing some cleanup efforts.
And with the community appearance survey, do you have to do this every single year for Keep Erie County Beautiful?
Actually, we have to do it every other year. So what's nice is now that we've got a baseline, that's essentially what our first one was, it's a baseline. We'll basically do this every 2 years, go back to the exact same sites. We don't have to necessarily use the same surveyors, but each group, each team that goes out, they'll have to survey the sites in each of these watershed areas. That way it kind of keeps it consistent. We may add a few sites here or there, but every single year then we'll kind of start to grow that data and really see if we're having an impact in our area.
And I do want to mention too that Brittany trained the surveyors through videos and pictures as to if you were going to rate an area, what a 1 was, what a 2 was. It was very specific. It wasn't, just, your own scale of what you thought was, good to bad, but there were very specific pictures. And you've actually got a book here that you were to follow.
So this is actually, it's called the State of the Community Report. And what we had to do was in the report here, exactly like Jesse mentioned, it's got a picture with all of the different litter ratings. That way everyone is kind of got the same idea what that litter rating means. So when you rate it a 1, someone else isn't thinking it's a 2. It helps to keep everything consistent, and it's a nice training manual so that every single person who wanted to help with us, they all had the same information, they got the same images, they got the same idea of exactly how this was going to be done. So this was actually put together by Keep America Beautiful, and they give this to any group that's starting out on an affiliate formation.
And Brittany, one thing I want to ask about the survey, was there anything that surprised you? Any comments or anything that you maybe thought it was going to lean one way and the rating went a different way?
Actually, we were a little surprised that we didn't have higher numbers. To be honest, we've talked, the groups have been talking before we even did the survey, and we expected higher numbers around our highway areas where people are just kind of throwing things out their car windows. We expected higher ratings in those areas, but we didn't really get that. I expected the county to be around a 3, maybe a 2.5 or a 3 as an average. For us to be way down at a 1, that's great news, but it also lets us realize, like I mentioned, is that's all from the windshield. We'll have to kind of dig deeper into some of our areas to really get an idea of how littered some of them are, especially when we talk about downtown Erie. Downtown Erie did have higher numbers, but it is an area that it probably would have had even higher numbers had we been walking it rather than driving past.
And I think one observation we made as well was that some of the sites that you randomly chose were actually just recently cleaned up through litter cleanup. So it's almost the time of year or the time of day as to, again, we didn't know that there was going to be a litter cleanup on this road, but there was. So by the time we got there, it looked better than it was. So I do think we try to keep up on the litter throughout Erie County, but I think this was a good way to prove that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the sites we had talked about was the Millcreek Mall. So the Millcreek Mall was one of our litter survey areas. And so the groups that had driven past there, they were surprised at how clean it was. Well, one of the things we talked about is they actually have a crew that goes out to clean up the parking lot. So they try to make the appearance of the Millcreek Mall look nice for visitors as they're coming in. So they actually stay on top of those things. So I was as surprised about that as well.
And what are your priorities for the first year of Keep Erie County Beautiful?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've got so many different groups that are going to be part of this that we'll have a board of directors, and they'll actually help to prioritize some of the topics that our groups have discussed. But some of those we've already talked about, the update for the illegal dump survey, but blight is actually a big topic right now in Erie County, and especially in the city of Erie. And blight is basically, whether it's in a commercial area or in a residential area, buildings, homes that aren't quite up to par with the rest of the neighborhood. They sort of just look like they're not kept up. And so one of the things that we've talked about is maybe working with municipalities to go in and help with fresh paint days. So go in and you get a grant for some paint and some paint supplies, and we can go and clean up a building, get it looking a little bit nicer. Same thing with some of the yards, helping hold dumpster days so people can get rid of some of that stuff they've just accumulated and they don't really know where to take it. So those are kind of some of the things that we've talked about. In addition, some other areas might be helping with some tree plantings or some rain gardens, a little bit of beautification stuff.
Right, right. And then the organization is also going to vote on these as well. So it would probably be helpful, if our viewers see something, to call in, maybe give their opinion, of a particular topic, and we can vote on what are our priorities for the first year. And then, like you said, once we do this assessment survey every year, our priorities might start to change.
That's absolutely true. What's nice is, so the meetings that we'll be having, they'll be quarterly board of director meetings, and they're open to the general public. Anyone and everyone is welcome to join us at these meetings. We want this to be a community effort. This is not just specific organizations. This is for everybody. So they can get in touch with me, let me know what they're kind of thinking, or they can come to the meetings and kind of talk and let the rest of the group know what they'd like to see, or some things that they've started to notice that maybe we can help with. Mm-hmm. So definitely all of our residents and anyone is welcome to come and kind of offer us some priorities. Mm-hmm.
And you have, like you said, you spent an entire year doing the application, the survey, putting together this great team of individuals who I will say actually seem to be very familiar faces in the recycling and
Yes.
green and sustainable community. So we do see a lot of the same people coming back again and again. But when will we finally receive approval from Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful that we are indeed an affiliate?
Sure. So actually, since we submitted the application November 16th, we should actually know by the end of 2016 whether we're approved or not. So by January of 2017, we will know. And then what we'll do is they'll actually come back and do a training specifically for our board of directors, so they really know what they're responsible for. And again, that training will most likely be open to the general public as well. But that's expected for February. But again, we should know by January if we're fully approved.
That's going to be a really exciting time. I know there was a grant I had applied for once before, and I think it would have been great for Millcreek Township, but we actually didn't receive it, and it was because we weren't an affiliate. So I can't wait to use that summary again and apply for the same grant. I think as a participant of somebody who's trying to help this make this work, I can't wait to see this actually go through.
Yeah, that's exciting, and it'll be perfect timing. Like you mentioned, most of their grant rounds open in the spring, mm-hmm. so we'll be set to be able to start applying to a lot of those grants right away.
Mm-hmm. And how does another organization get involved? Because it's not just municipalities or townships.
Right. So what we've done is actually, it's part of our bylaws. So one of the groups that was working on the organizational structure, they decided to come up with a 9-member board. And so how it works is there is a representative for all of our townships, our boroughs, our cities, our state agencies, our for-profit groups, so like an Erie Insurance is welcome to join, or one of our recycling haulers, Waste Management, is welcome to join, our nonprofit groups and our neighborhood groups. So we've got 9 different categories, and then one of those 9 is actually going to be a representative of the county, because as I'll be organizing it, I won't be a board of directors, so we'd like to have some county representation on that board. But how it'll work is actually any organization, they're allowed to become a member. They'll pay a $15 a year annual dues. That's just one payment per organization. They can have as many people from their organization come as they want. What they then receive is a vote. So anytime that there is a discussion or a decision being made, their organization is allowed to cast their vote. That could be to elect new board members or officers. That could be to decide if we're going to apply for a grant or not. That could be part of there's an evaluation committee, and so what they're responsible for is when we apply for a grant and we get approved for that grant, well, how do we decide who gets to use the money, right? There's going to be so many different organizations. So any organization that has paid their dues, they'll actually be able to submit a request to be able to pull from that money. And an evaluation committee, which any member can then be a part of, will actually help to decide how that money gets divided up. So there's a lot of benefits to being a member of Keep Erie County Beautiful, especially if you're looking for some funding to help get some projects done. But but it also lets us kind of see what everyone else is doing, so maybe we can do some collaboration on some of that funding as well.
And I do want to say the $15 fee, I mean, that is so nominal, and it really gives you a voice at the table. Again, even if your organization doesn't specifically need a grant, we would love your assistance, your input, your professional advice. So I would really recommend a lot of organizations getting involved, paying those, like I said, very nominal membership dues, and then, like I said, being a part of this greater organization that's going to make Erie County beautiful.
Yes, and what's nice is, so that actually, that $15 membership fee, that will only ever go to project costs. So that money's not going to be used for salaries, for overhead, for admin, any of that. It's all going to go towards the projects that we want to see implemented here in Erie County. So it's kind of nice that that money is actually restricted on how it'll be used as well.
Right, right. And then as far as you said, there being other members from the county who are interested. I mean, there's your department, which is the sustainability coordinator position and department, but there's also the Erie County Health Department, which was very active in helping us with this survey. Do you want to tell us how they were involved?
Yeah, so the Erie County Department of Health, one of their activities that they actually help to do is they do inspections. So they do the health inspections at restaurants and businesses, but then they also are one of those groups that if there's an illegal dump site, they'll actually help to monitor as well. So they were very heavily involved throughout the entire process, and so we want to make sure that we keep them involved, especially if we're going to do more illegal dump site cleanup efforts or monitoring. They'll be a perfect group to be involved.
They will be. And again, what Brittany mentioned is that your organization can provide as many members, and just as one organization, you'll get one vote. So I liken it to myself being involved and our Parks and Recreation Director being involved, and together we'll agree on something and then give one vote toward the organization.
Exactly, exactly.
And then how does a resident get involved? Because I know there's a lot of people watching who are saying, I really, really agree with this mission and this organization needs to be formed.
Yeah, so actually what's nice is, although a resident isn't technically going to be a member, they won't necessarily have a vote, we want them at the table. One, so they know what other organizations exist in Erie County and how they can help, but they are going to be our volunteers. They're going to be the people that are out there helping us clean up some of these sites, planting trees, painting buildings. Those are our volunteer source. So the more involved they are at our board meetings and throughout the whole process, the better our projects are going to be.
And Brittany, I know we always need volunteers. I mean, whether, like you said, it's tree planting or it's helping to do a litter cleanup. I just want to tell our viewers, actually, if you don't mind giving us a quick rundown, how much time or resources is involved in either a litter cleanup or an illegal dump cleanup?
Sure. So actually what's interesting, an illegal dump site, it depends on what actually is there, but you could take 2 hours with, say, 10 to 15 people and still not make a dent. It is a long process and it's a labor-intensive process, these litter cleanups and the illegal dump site cleanups. What's hard is people don't understand. They think that it's actually very costly. It is and it isn't, but the biggest impact is if you don't have the people to help clean it up, you're not going to be able to be able to kind of get rid of what you've got there. So the more volunteers we have, the quicker we can get a site cleaned up, the easier it'll be to haul things out. You figure we've got places that have couches. Think of how heavy a couch is. That's going to take 2 to 3 people just to move it. Now it's covered in water because it's been sitting out in the elements. I mean, there's so many things that you have to think about. So the more people we have involved getting out there, cleaning up these sites, the much better it's going to be.
And I always think, and I know you know this too, litter attracts more litter.
Absolutely.
So if we can get something cleaned up, then it will mean that it won't draw more litter there in the future. And then just quickly, being in the business, I feel like I know very well what the difference is, but share with our viewers, what is the difference between littering and illegal dumping?
Sure. So usually litter is just going to be a little bit of trash here or there. People walking from a convenience store, they finish whatever it is they bought and they just kind of let the wrapper fall to the ground. Cigarette butts are really litter. People use it and then they kind of just dispose of it. They don't take it to a trash bin. Illegal dumping is much bigger. It's actually a much bigger problem too. Usually this is things that people don't want to, or either can't or don't want to put at their curb to be picked up as trash. These are furniture. This could be construction material. This could be shingles, carpeting, all of those different pieces. And then basically what happens is you've got this large amount of stuff that's just kind of thrown out there in the middle. It takes up a lot of space. It could be hazardous, especially when we talk about electronics. Electronics is one of those big issues we've been dealing with for the last couple of years. hard to find to get rid of. Not a lot of places will take them. It's costly to recycle for the residents, so they just throw it out somewhere else, and then now it's someone else's problem. Litter is easier to clean up. Illegal dump sites take a lot more manpower and then end up being a little bit more costly to clean up as well.
Right. And like you said, both are very time consuming. I do think of littering as a spur of the moment action, whereas an illegal dump is very premeditated. You think about it, you look for a spot, you might go back to that spot several times. So this is very frustrating, to Brittany and I when we need to organize these illegal dump cleanups and litter cleanups. But we're just about out of time here, so if you don't mind, for somebody who's looking for more information, how can they contact you, or how can they find out more about Keep Erie County Beautiful?
Yeah, so the best place actually to find out information about Keep Erie County Beautiful is if you check out eriecountyrecycling.com. That's our website. We've got a tab up there that has the Keep Erie County Beautiful information, and it also has my contact information. So right now, if you're interested, you can give me a call. My phone number is 814-451-7326, or you can shoot me an email, and that information again is up on eriecountyrecycling.com.
Brittany, I want to thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about this. This is such a project that's near and dear to my heart, and I know you've been so passionate about this as well. So I want to thank you so much. Viewers, again, illegal dumps and littering, graffiti, it's all very frustrating for us. I know you don't like it in your neighborhood either, so this is a very important new organization that I'd love for you to go onto their website and research a little bit more, and actually give Brittany a call and give your opinion about what projects are important to you to make Erie County beautiful. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.